Hello, social equity applicants. I'm Craig Levin, and my company is 3D Consulting, and I'm a mentor in the social equity licensing program in Washington. Um, I'll tell you a little bit about myself first, and then go through the outline for the module that I'm going to discuss today. And there will be about eight, I believe, webinars like this that are pre-recorded, and then there will be times that you can hop on a Zoom with me at certain times on a Friday. First off, I work by myself, and this is my kitchen, and I like to think of this as the global headquarters for 3D Consulting. You can see some of the things my family likes to eat, like Lucky Charms and goldfish back there. And occasionally you might hear a dog barking if somebody comes to the door or drives by the house. Anyway, I work alone. I'm a solo entrepreneur helping cannabis companies in the startup phase primarily. I've got clients who run stores in the Washington area or in the Seattle area. And I also have clients who are suppliers who have brands, vape brands, flower brands, and so forth. So, in addition to that, my experience in the industry is 4.5 years of running Avitas slash Elevated, which is one of the top vape brands in Washington and Oregon. While I was running the company, we expanded into Oregon and ended up serving 700 stores throughout both states. We also had about 100 employees at the time that I left in 2020. So, I've seen a lot, and I've seen it from both perspectives, from the perspective of the supplier and the perspective of the retailer. The main thing that I do and that I help small businesses do is finance and operations stuff like cash flow forecasts and budgets and a lot of financial planning of the business and the analysis of all the massive amounts of data that you're going to be able to get from your point of sale system, let's say, or your payroll system. So I help businesses find opportunities, find out where money's leaking out, analyze those things, and just continue to optimize and get things organized and put together in a way that you're going to have a sustainable business and a higher likelihood of survival. The one other thing I didn't tell you about my background is that I spent about 20 years in corporate America. Most of that was with Verizon Wireless as a finance executive. And in that experience, I was responsible for the finance piece for 75 retail stores in the Northwest, in the states up here in the Northwest. So, I know a lot about the science of merchandising and the art of merchandising, and a lot about what type of metrics to look for as you run the business, how to deal with, kind of code of conduct issues with, from a human resources standpoint. So although I'm a specialist in finance, I also just have a lot of real world experience, both in, world-class corporate retail down to mom and pop retail in rural parts of Washington. So I have a lot to share with you, and hopefully you find it valuable. A couple of things that about this recorded webinar and what goes with it is that there's a worksheet that goes with it. This is I'm going to post this up on the social equity site. It's just called Module 1A, a startup mindset, and it follows along and it follows along the outline and lets you put in notes for example, some of your resources for business fundamentals, some of the points of your strategic advantage and things you want to be known for, who's who will you need for your startup team, like attorneys and accountants and so forth. The importance of business ethics and compliance, and some of the points about compliance that you can fill out in this worksheet. And then basic financing considerations, talking about ownership and partnership, operating agreements and things like that. This is just meant for you to take some notes. It's not a big homework assignment. And hopefully the information that I give you will be a good resource for you throughout this whole application process and thereafter, even if you don't end up with one of these licenses. This kind of information is something that I hope that you can leverage in any endeavor that you have in small business. Okay, so all right, I'll jump into the first thing, which is business fundamentals. So starting and running a small business can look really scary. And I know that some of you already own businesses. Some of them are cannabis related, some of them aren't. It doesn't really matter whether they are or aren't. But I want to kind of encourage everybody here that even though there are some, very complex and what may look like risky or difficult things in the finance piece of your business or the business fundamental piece, these are things that if you focus on the fundamentals and you keep things simple, which is what I'm going to try to help you do here, there are things that you can learn and get better at throughout your time running businesses. And this is, being a business owner is a profession. And you're not going to be perfect at it right out of the gate, but you will get better and better at it as time goes by. And so hopefully what I am going to tell you today and in future webinars will kind of leapfrog you over years and years of trying things and making mistakes. And trust me, there will be some things that I suggest to you that you'll, as a mistake, and you will, fall into that pitfall regardless. And I fell into many pitfalls, even knowing, what the right thing to do business-wise was. It's difficult to always go by the numbers. Sometimes you go by your heart or a feeling, and it goes sideways. So I'm just going to give you the fundamentals and let you know that, hey, if you focus on certain simple things, you'll just continue to get better and better. And as well, I want to let you know that I'm here to help you, and the mentors in this program, there's an abundance of information and professionalism in that mentor group. And the best thing is it's free. The state's paying for it. So go ahead and leverage that. And here's how to get in touch with me, by the way. Every Friday at noon, I'll be having an office hours for 1 hour. And you can ask me anything. And I'm sorry, let me just double check that it is actually that I'm giving you the right time. 1 second here. Okay, excuse me. It is every Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific for 1 hour. And then at noon, I will be having either a live Zoom session or a question and answer session for the recorded module that was, I'll be posting recorded modules on Mondays. And then on Fridays, I'll be either having a live session at noon on Zoom, or I'll be doing a question and answer just for the worksheet and the module that was posted on the Monday prior. So that's always from noon to 1 on Zoom. And my office hours, Ask Me Anything, is from 1 to 2 p.m. on Zoom. The other thing I wanted to mention is my email is craig@3dconsultingco.com. So that's how you can get in touch with me. All right, let's get into the second piece, which is your strategic advantage. So there, your consumers, your clientele are going to have a lot of choices in the neighborhood as far as stores and dispensaries to go to. And it may be that, you know, you want to be a store that has folks, that draws folks, even have them pass other stores on the way to yours because you do something that they appreciate, that resonates with them and makes them want to shop there. And those kind of things may be the way that your store is laid out, the decor of your store, the way that you offer service, your prices, your signage, the people in your store, the fact that the owner is always at the counter. There's a number of things that could make your store special. So, I want to have you start thinking about, considering the competitive landscape, your likely competitors around the neighborhood or the county that you're applying for and that you're looking for real estate in. Think about, how could you be different and still be conventional? In other words, you don't want to do something really crazy as a concept for your store. You want to think about survival first and foremost, and you want to do what works. And so look around and see if there are stores that are kind of like, Costco-like, where you go in, you pick some stuff, you go up to the counter, to one of the many lines, and then you run your stuff and check out. Or there's a very personal type where, hey, somebody comes and greets you at the door and takes you around the store and asks you what you want and that kind of thing, and is more consultative. So, there's a lot of different concepts in the range of, personal service to just self-service kind of thing. Okay, so think about what kind of store you want to be and what you want to be known for. It might be that you want to be known for the way that you curate your selection, or you want to be known for the technology that that your customers can use to make their experience more convenient, let's say. There's a number of different things that you could be known for, but when you think about what are my competitive advantages, there's a few ways to think of it. There's that, what do I do better than other folks who I compete with? There's also, how do I operate better? Do I have a special beat on real estate because, my family owns a strip mall, or my friend owns a strip mall, or, do I have an advantage to get a spot at a good rental rate? That's a competitive advantage. So there's all types of competitive advantages, and we run a high risk of kind of falling flat if we are just doing what everybody else is doing. And it's me too. I can do this too, just like everybody else, and I'll try to do it better. Your strategic and competitive advantage needs to be a little bit stronger than that, let's say. And think about as well, when you're thinking about your competitive advantages, think about what you do well. Okay, it might be that you do tech well, and you want to have a technology solution in your store that helps people find the right thing quicker. Or it may be that you're an artist and you like to you want to have your art displayed in the store. Or it might be that you maybe you're a pharmacist in your other life and you want your store to be to cater to medical patients who need hand-holding and attention through the process, and very careful attention to detail about what products you have in your selection and you are selling to them. Okay, so that's a lot about strategic advantage. And in the worksheet, it's got some places to put some notes about the competitive landscape, what you want to be known for, and kind of the vision of the store layout or specialty. Okay, let's talk about the third thing, which is your startup team. So in any startup business, it's really tough to go it alone. And, it's great to have a partner or a co-founder. That's great. I'm really right here. I'm really talking about some of the professionals that you're going to bring onto your team. It's Team Jones, or for me, it's Team Levin. I've got an attorney who helped me to license my personal business, not a cannabis business, so easier licensing, but licensed with the Secretary of State. If you have a partnership, you're going to need some operating agreements that talk about what folks' responsibilities are in the membership group of the ownership of the license. That operating agreement will have to say what happens if the company runs out of cash. Do people need to pony up cash in what percentage? Those kinds of things. And what happens if the partners decide to separate? How is that going to be dealt with? So these things should be in an operating agreement, and an attorney can help you do that. So one person you'll need on your team is an attorney. And there's a spot on the startup worksheet to put potential attorneys that you know of, and resources that you can call on to get an attorney. The second thing is, and this is in no specific order, this is what I thought of as I was making my notes, an accountant or a bookkeeper. So I talked to a few of you at the Social Equity kickoff event, and talked to you about the need for a bookkeeper right out of the gate. And the great thing was, the 2 or 3 folks who I talked to about that, they did have other businesses where they were already hooked up with a remote bookkeeper, or had somebody in-house that did that for their business or businesses. So that's great. Okay, I always suggest that people in the startup phase, that you don't just start things and put all of your receipts into a shoebox and until the day that you have to file for taxes, or you'll put it together later. No. It is best when you start with by accounting for all of your inflows and your outflows, and your revenues and your expenses. And there are very simple ways to do that these days. Some folks just do it free on their own Excel workbook, but many people do it in QuickBooks. Okay, so QuickBooks Online, or Xero is a system that I have not used, but I've heard is good for small businesses and small business accounting, and it's spelled Xero. So those are some systems that can be used to account for your revenues and expenses from day one. Okay, and probably day one there aren't going to be any revenues. You're going to be spending first, and when you are spending on your signage, and you're spending on your staff recruitment and training, and you're doing all these things that you're spending money on, display cases and security systems and lighting and what have you. I've seen too many situations where there's just some drawer, let's say, that has a bunch of receipts in it for this construction, this tenant improvement project, and then what do you think happens? People start fighting. Partners start fighting about, hey, where'd the money go? And what, and did we account for everything? And where's that receipt? And somebody, instead of paying money to the company and then paying it out, they paid an investor paid our vendor directly, and we lost track of that payment. And so I will not, keep kicking a dead horse here. The point is, account for your expenditures and any inflows that you have on, starting on day one. Okay. So an accountant or a bookkeeper you will need. Bankers. Okay, you're going to have potentially, millions of dollars of revenue and cash flow coming into your store, and so you need a cash pickup, and you need a bank. Salal is the bank that many stores I know use. It's sometimes hard to get an account. Sometimes they're not, these banks and local credit unions are not taking new accounts. And there are many reasons for that. But one of the things that banks need to do is they need to audit your deposits and make sure that it is, if they come through the cannabis system, every dollar is licensed. Every dollar that they're taking in deposits need to be audited that it's licensed income through a regulated store like yours. So banks are sometimes hard to get relationships with. There's a lot of work on their end. It's expensive, and you just need to be looking for a banker now. The other folks that you will probably need: an insurance broker, a leasing broker, probably a marketing and graphic design specialist. You'll need financial partners who finance the business. There's all types of folks that you need on your startup team. So I won't belabor the issue. That's number 3 on the worksheet, your startup team. Okay. Okay, let's talk about business ethics and compliance. So as you know, in a regulated industry like this, there are many rules, and some of them don't seem to make sense, or because it may look like the body who wrote the regulations have no clue how to run a business, or for that matter, a cannabis business. And so there are so some of these rules are really hard to comply with. And I mean, there are, many examples, but my point is that compliance with the regulations of 502 is of the utmost importance, number 1. Okay, you always need to strive for 100% compliance, because without compliance, you don't have a business. It could be taken from you like that. And all of your money and all of your investors' money is tied up with lawyers and paying fines and trying to get it back, and your business is shut down. It's no joke. Okay, if you don't have compliance, you don't have a business. But my point about the regulations are hard to comply by. You always want to have the attitude of, I'm going to be a rule follower in this market. Okay, that's number 1. And if you are striving for 100% compliance and you can't quite reach it because there are regulations that don't make sense, that's no reason, of course, to stop complying. You comply as much as you can, and nobody can ever comply 100%. Okay, but you comply, and the LCB, when they come and check your compliance, they are there first and foremost to educate and help. And only if they see that you are deliberately, not following the rules, will they really start to pursue you. Okay, if you are a good partner with the state and you are trying to comply and you are communicating and you're documenting your attempts to comply and any problems that you're having doing that, that's the way to go. Okay, so that's the piece about LCB compliance. There are other compliance parts as well. There is an accounting compliance, which is your basically your income and your expenses need to be portrayed in the most truthful, timely, and accurate way, so that if a bank looks at your books, they should be able to make a decision about whether to loan you money. If an investor looks at your books, they should be confident enough to invest in your company or loan you, private funds. So the accounting compliance is so important because much of the value of your business and the credit worthiness of your business comes from how straight your books are. It's the confidence that the person reading it has in, its accuracy, its timeliness, its truthfulness. Okay, so if it's all those things, you're going to get loans, you're going to get investors, you're going to get good value for the sweat equity that you're putting into your business. Okay, so you want to be compliant from an accounting standpoint. The last thing I'll say about business ethics is the integrity piece. And this is, a lot of people think about integrity as just, honesty, but it's also about making promises and keeping those promises. And that may be with, let's take a partner, for example. You have a partnership, and what do you look for in a partner? You look for somebody that has a high moral standard of ethics, that is not going to, take advantage of you, rip you off. And when you're working really hard, you don't want somebody to be working against you, and you want promises to be made and kept, and you want to make promises and keep those promises with these authorities, the compliance authorities, with your employees, with your investors, those types of things. Okay, so when you're looking for a partner in this business, make sure that they have they don't have this, moral code that is way, way below yours. You guys need to be very similar in your business ethics and in your levels of integrity and your work ethic. Okay, that's all I'll say about that. The fifth thing and the last thing today is about basic financing considerations. So it's super expensive to set up a business like this. Think about some of the things that you're going to have to come up with cash for, like initial stock for your store and furniture and fixtures for your store, marketing, staffing expense, training expense, first, last, and security deposit rent, attorneys. There's all kinds of financial, needs of your business. So when you're looking for partners to finance the business, I said a couple things in the business equity or ethics part, but I'll say that you want to make sure that you do due diligence on the person, or organization that is lending you money to start up the business. Okay, there's a few things that you need to know about, like, the business they do, their bankability, all types of due diligence about the person that you are going into business with. You want to make sure that's the right person. 51% ownership. You need to have an operating agreement and a business license with the Secretary of State that shows that you are more than a 51% or 51% or greater member of your, let's say, LLC setup. Okay, so like I said, that needs to have an operating agreement that goes along with it, that legal document that says what everybody's role and responsibility is, and what happens if you were to get separated, get a divorce, let's say, okay, from that partner. I'm not talking about from your wife or husband. All right. Startup cost to consider, I told you about that. Rent deposits, initial inventory, equipment, signage. And then the last thing I want to say about this is that cash flow in this business is the lifeblood. Okay. Compliance, I said, is number one, because if you don't have compliance, you don't have a business. But second, it's like the blood pumping through this organism. Your business is cash. And you could have a very profitable business in the sense that you charge a high markup on the products that you sell. And so you see a lot of profitability from that. But in order to, refill that stock of inventory, you're usually paying cash before everything that you paid cash for last was sold. Your cycles of cash flow could make it so that it looks like everything is going well, and then all of a sudden everything blows up. Okay, cash has to be carefully managed, carefully planned for, and in future modules, I will give you some tools to track in Excel your cash flow, and you can also do that through an accounting system, of course, like QuickBooks, like I was talking about, or Xero, or something like that. In the next webinar, you'll hear a lot about cash flow from a small business standpoint, and my associate Jared will be talking about some of his experiences in small business survival and how important cash was there. And we'll have some stories for you throughout these webinars. And like I said, you can always contact me with questions about that, and join my sessions on Fridays from noon to 1, which is question and answer or live new modules. And then from 1 to 2, it's a Ask Me Anything office hours on Zoom. Okay, thanks so much. We'll be seeing you soon.